Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before I get into what I'm going to speak to you today, I'd like to acknowledge a very special person in this crowd today. 9 weeks ago, in our very first session, I mentioned to my colleagues that I was getting married in 3 weeks. And there I would like to acknowledge my beautiful wife, Pumelele Dlamini. Thank you for the support, my love. Right? So now I've killed the nerves, right? Now, I'm here to talk to you about green energy. And you might be sitting there and wondering, like, this guy's going to talk to me about green energy? What does he know about green energy? Well, let's think about it. We've all been there where we've seen the lights go out, right? You're in the middle of, watching your favorite game. You may be making a great meal. You're out with your friend, you're at a pub. And then you have an ESCOM moment. And the lights go out, right? You cuss ESCOM, you probably cuss the government, you cuss your local municipality. But after you get all that emotion out of your system, you kind of like think about, okay, what can I do about this? What can I do that can ensure that I don't have to experience this on an ongoing basis? So, what am I going to talk to you about today? I'm going to share with you some information around green energy, specifically painting a picture on the South African context, what it's about, why it's important for South Africa, and how we can go about adopting green technologies. So, South Africa. Do you know that over the last 10 years, the cost of electricity has gone up by 350%? You're very welcome, right? Let me repeat that again. The cost of electricity has gone up by 350%. Has that equated to getting 300% more electricity? No. Sometimes you'll press that switch and the lights don't go on. Why? Because there's been a failure somewhere in ESCOM in the supply chain and we don't have electricity. It's a reality of life. NERSA recently approved ESCOM's increase in the electricity tariffs by 9.3%, and it's going to continue to go up. So over the next 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, you better get used to the fact that you're going to be paying more for the electricity supply that you're enjoying today. What's next? Load shedding. I was recently watching Trevor Noah's skit, Payback the Funny, and he talked about load shedding and how it's a everyday reality of South African life, right? Do you know that in 2015, there were 99 days that were lost to load shedding in South Africa? So out of 365 days in a year, 99 were in darkness, right? And we enjoyed that, right? We complained about it. Some of us enjoyed it, and we said, look, it's a part of everyday life, and we're going to deal with it, right? But that's part of everyday life in South Africa. And then lastly, as people, we're becoming more and more concerned about the impact of fossil fuel being used to generate electricity. We've just experienced a pretty devastating drought that resulted in our inability to produce food for ourselves. So what did that mean? We needed to import food from abroad. What did that mean? We had to pay more for the food we're consuming today. So you can see the trend. You're going to continue paying more and more and more and more. So now I've painted a pretty glum picture of the reality in South Africa. So let me now go and talk to you about what exactly is green energy. So, green energy, to define it very simply, is energy that is collected from sources that are replenished naturally. And I'm showing you solar panels which are used to capture the energy of the sun. There are other forms of renewable energy, and these are wind, water, geothermal. So there are multiple sources of green energy. But in the South African context, the one that we can tap into so easily, because we have it in abundance, is solar energy. So that is something for all of us to look at and really consider at the end of this presentation. So now you'd say, why is it important, Ed? You've defined it. Why is it important? Well, quite simply, it's important for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's cheaper, right? You're not going to go and pay a tax on the sun to say, well, there's tax from the sun, so we're going to pay for this, unless the government decides to charge us for it at some point in time, right? So it might be coming. Part of the economic policy, right? Another thing to consider is the fact that it guarantees the reliability of energy supply. And it's because it's so abundant. And it puts less demand on the national grid, which will ensure that the lights stay on. And lastly, and I think this is very important for South Africa, with the challenges that we're having with economic growth, the green industry has grown exponentially over the last 10 years. 10 years ago, the renewable energy industry was worth a couple of millions. Today, it's worth tens of billions. And why is that? The rise in the price of electricity has made those entrepreneurs amongst us realize that there's an opportunity. And they've seen what's been happening globally. And they've brought those technologies and have sold them actively, not only in South Africa, but regionally. And what does that mean for this economy? It means more people are getting employed. It means more people are able to take care of their families. And ultimately, it benefits the overall economic performance of South Africa. So green energy is a viable alternative to help us grow our economy. Now, you might sit there and say to yourself, okay, so Ed, thanks for telling me about it and why it's important. How do I go about really looking at this and trying to see how can I adopt these green technologies? Well, it first starts with having an analysis and viewing the major sources of energy consumption in our households today. So I'm curious, how many of us have actually had to replace a geyser? Show of hands. So you've all experienced the pain, right? My friends in the insurance industry always tell me, Ed, it is a lie that the only certainties in life are death and taxes. It's death, taxes, and a bust geyser, right? Did you know your average geyser lasts for 3 to 5 years? And then it's going to go out and you're going to have to replace it. Now, a geyser, ladies and gentlemen, accounts for 35 to 40% of your energy consumption in your home today. Just one appliance accounts for 35 to 40%. So what would happen if you replaced it? You're going to see the cost of energy for your house go down. What else is the major, consumer of energy in our households today? It's our appliances such as the TV, refrigerator, microwave, washing machine, dishwashing machine, a dryer, if you've got all of those appliances. And that accounts for 30 to 35% of energy consumption. And then you've got your lighting, lights that we enjoy. That accounts for about 10 to 15%. And lastly, your stove, that counts for 10%. Now, I'm going to be very honest here, and I'm going to say, I have not replaced a geyser. A couple of years ago, we built a home, right? I need to acknowledge my boss, right? All protocols observed, right? And I was told that you need to look at replacing this geyser. And because of all the other responsibilities that I have, I said I'll do it later. But I'm still in that window period, so I'm hoping that it's not going to pack out on us anytime soon. But it's something to look at. But a very quick win for me was replacing the lights. Getting rid of your conventional lights and replacing them with LED lights. And that has brought down a decrease in terms of my monthly energy bill. So you don't have to go and adopt a Star Wars approach and go off the grid completely, which might cost you in excess of 200,000 rands. You just need to go to your local grocery store or builder's warehouse, and you can find these light bulbs, buy them, and replace them all by yourself. It is possible. So, ladies and gentlemen, now that I've painted that picture for all of you, the last thing that I want to leave with you, and I'm going to steal these words from the late US President John F. Kennedy. Ask not what Eskom can do for you, but what you can do for Eskom, and invest in green energy. The future is now, and the future is green energy. Thank you.